We've got a good one with today's guest for all things Minot and Colorado hockey. Joining me now is Magicians assistant coach Jordan Willert. And Jordan, you've been around Minot hockey for so long. What does this program mean to you, man?
The program means a lot. My dad played on Minot High's first ever high school hockey team. As I'm sure Larry the Legend McFall has mentioned, to you multiple times, they were on that team together. Then my dad coached the team for over 20 years. I got to play for my dad. He was the assistant coach with Gary Sampson. So I played for Minot High for 2 years, and then I got the opportunity when I was done playing. They had an assistant coaching job open, so I was able to move back and coach them for a couple years, and then I moved over and coached Minot State for 3 years, and now, since I got a teaching job in the district, I was able to slide back into an assistant coaching job. And, I love Minot hockey. I love being around the rink. The maroon and gold mean a lot to me. There's a lot of pride. And now I have a 3-year-old son. I'm trying to get it to rub off on him. And, we play hockey in the basement. And unfortunately, I have to be Bismarck, and he boos me and slashes me, but he gets to be the magicians and score goals on me. So that's a pretty cool thing.
What does your dad have to say about playing with Larry way back in the day?
Well, him and Larry, I believe they were really good friends. Larry obviously back then was a pretty darn good athlete. He was a really, really good tennis player. He was a good hockey goalie. I believe they had somebody else on the team that also played goalie, so I think they split some time. But, I think back in the day there, I think it was a pretty tight-knit group all the way through.
Yeah, so to have your son coming up and seeing maybe an early interest in hockey, what does that mean to you, considering what the program's meant to you personally? It'll rub off on another generation, I suppose.
Yeah, honestly, he's 3. He'll be 4 in August. We've been skating a couple times. We'll probably start this winter. Do I want him to play hockey? 100%. But if he came to me and said, Dad, you know what? I'm 6'5", I'm going to play basketball. I'll let him play basketball. The thing that's going to stink for me is I know and understand basketball, but I wasn't a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
I played hockey, so I'd like to be able to, kind of pass along those little intricacies of the game that I could do when it comes to hockey. But, I'm 6'4", my wife's 6 foot. There's a good possibility that he's going to be, a pretty big boy. My wife's actually pregnant while we're due with our second here in September. Who knows? Boy, girl, we don't know. We're not finding out. I'm hoping for a girl. Actually, I'm hoping for healthy, but, it's really exciting to be able to see him light up when he comes to hockey games. He comes down and stands inside the bench and bangs on the glass. And that was the same thing that I did when I was his age. It's really exciting right now, and boy or girl, whatever comes, hopefully, in my family, we love Minot High, and we love Minot High sports. My dad, my mom, myself, I take Foster with us. We go to girls volleyball, basketball, boys basketball. We go to wrestling, Minot High baseball. We just love Minot High through and through, and we just go and watch sports. And like I said, boy, girl, whatever it is, hopefully the love for Minot and Minot High sports just rubs off on them.
If you're in a hockey family and there's a baby on the way, does the baby elbow instead of kick the stomach? Does your wife say anything about that or no?
I think if you ask my wife right now, it'd probably be a hip check.
Oh, yeah?
So, that's a good question. Hopefully there's a little bit of, some angst in there. So when he or she comes out, they come out and they're a little bit of a spitfire and a little bit tough, I guess.
We got to have a couple wives on sometime. That'd be hilarious. When you look at your involvement in sports just within the realm of coaching, how much of your dad's coaching has an influence on what you do as a coach?
I think a lot. People probably be surprised to find out. I call my dad the moment every game's over. It's the first thing I do is I call my dad, hey, what did you think tonight? What did you see? He sits up top at almost every game. I don't think he's really missed a game except for, I think, this year, since both my parents are retired, they went on a little bit vacay, during the winter. Why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's it's important because he was around the game for so long. You know, he coached me through select teams, was around a lot of good players, was around my eye for years, just to kind of get that outside perspective of like, you know, what did you see? Oh, I saw this. Oh, I didn't really see it like that from where I was, you know, and then we're just able to kind of have a constructive, you know, conversation. You know, I think my dad and Gary and those guys, you know, great coaches. I think there's still a little bit of old school there. You know, as we kind of move into this, you know, per se new school type of athlete where, you know, kids are just different than they were. You can't get on kids as much as you used to be able to get on them. I mean, some you can, but like as an entire group, they're just, kids are just different, you know, and even I was different than the group that came before me. I mean, you talk to guys that played 20, 30 years ago, they were getting it a lot worse than I got it, and kids that are playing now, they're getting it, you know, not as hard as I got it. And I just think it's important to be able to adapt. And, you know, I think that's one thing that we do really, really well as a coaching staff. You know, me, Bennett, and Grubb, I just think we kind of, you know, Bennett was an assistant coach when I played, you know, and then Grubb was playing college hockey while I was playing high school hockey. And then I went and played college hockey. We have that new school with a little bit of old school. Then we all rub off on each other. We're all really good friends. So it just works.
How did hard coaching maybe rub off on you? Did it feel the same as the guy next to you in the locker room? Did it feel worse? Did it feel easier? If you're hearing it from old man Willert?
Well, when I played high school hockey, I didn't get it much on the bench from my dad. I'd get the, what do they call it, a 100-mile stare or 10,000-mile stare, whatever it is down the bench. I could feel him staring at me. If I did something he didn't like, I would usually get the talking to in the car, which I feel like is so important. I feel like, you know, my dad never berated me, never got on me, you know, to an extent of anything like that. My dad expected me to act a certain way, and a lot of times we didn't even really talk about hockey. It was, you know, why did you do this? Why did you do that? You know, and then he kind of let me learn through my other coaches and stuff like that. But he was there. He wanted me to act a certain way, be an adult, you know, grow up, you know, do things the right way. Kind of a funny story. I remember one time we were playing Botno in Minot. He'll probably kill me for saying this. It was the start of the third period, and we were crushing Botno. It was our senior night, I believe. I was might have been a sophomore. And I decided there was like a rock song on, and I strummed a guitar at center ice. Just messing around with the buddies on the ice. My dad was really embarrassed. We had a talk that night, you know. The head coach of Botno at the time was David Hoff. He coached Team North Dakota, so that means my dad's like, you don't want people's... It stuck with me. I'm 32. I could tell you exactly where I was standing at the All Seasons Arena when I came upstairs, and my dad, you know, wouldn't talk to me. I was like, Mom, what's up? And she told me, and, you know, at the time, you 16, 17-year-old kid, it's like, oh, you know, now that I'm older, like, I get what he was doing. Like, he wanted me to respect the game and respect opponents, and at the time, I didn't feel like I was doing that, right? You know, you're a 16-year-old kid, but, like, you have to act appropriately. You have to do things appropriately. And I think that was kind of the, you know, the big thing that rubbed off on me from my dad, you know, just growing up. Because he coached the defense, and like I said, he wasn't going to get on me and holler at me on the bench. It was more we were going to have constructive talks, you know, in the car ride home. You
didn't feel like you were given a bad impression in that moment, or do you mean that you didn't feel like you were given the respect in the moment? For the other team.
Say it again?
For Botno.
Like, I didn't mean it in a disrespectful way. Like I said, I was just goofing off with, like, the guys on the ice. Like, the guy that I was playing, like, my line mates, I was just, like, I wasn't meaning it in a disrespectful way toward Botno at all. I was just, we were ahead big. I'm sure I was having a decent game, and I was just having fun. But my dad sees it from an older standpoint. The coach of Team North Dakota's on the other bench, sees me. It looks disrespectful, right?
Okay, yeah.
Now that I'm older, I understand that. At the time, when you're 16, 17, you're like, well, I was just messing around. Well, yeah, but, you know, it looks like that. It's about respect and, you know, not showing. It can look like you're showing up the opponent. That's not how I meant it. But, you know, I think, like I said, those are important life lessons that you learn as you're growing up. And luckily, I had a dad that was in tune with that stuff and was able to, again, have a constructive conversation with me, and we were able to fix that.
Maybe your celebration just wasn't creative enough, though. Feel like guitar is sort of like tried and true.
Yeah, air guitar. You can buy them on eBay, I guess now.
Okay. Now, when you have those post-game calls with your dad, where does it kind of fit in between agreeing 100% and disagreeing 100%? Where does it usually fall?
Yeah. I don't know. Most nights it's probably a 50-50. My dad, he'll see this and say, oh, this player wasn't doing that, and then I'll be like, yeah, but Dad, that kid worked really hard. He might not have got a lot done, or he didn't see the ice really well that game, but he at least was, working extremely hard, and that's a lot of time that's what we ask from high school kids. Give me all you can get, and we can find you some ice time. And again, I think he's probably more critical than I am because I'm closer to the kids, right? He's an outside perspective looking in where I'm with these kids every day. I know how hard they work. I know how much they care. But he also sees things that I didn't even notice that. I thought this happened, that, and he's like, no, I'm coaching the D now. I'm not a defenseman. I'm a forward. My dad was a defenseman. Played college hockey as a defenseman and coached defense. So I'm kind of able to rub things off, or bounce things off of him, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
About that, and I just think that's important.
If he wasn't your coach, would you be a coach today?
It's a good question. I honestly don't think if my dad was a coach, I would have never been the hockey player I was. I honestly, truly believe that. It has nothing to do with, I heard it all growing up, right? Like, oh, you get opportunity because your dad's the coach. It's like, well, no. Like, my dad doesn't go and play for me. My dad doesn't play I never felt like my dad played favorites. My dad didn't do that. That wasn't him. But again, like, if he didn't coach, I don't think I have the love for hockey and or sports as much as I do. I grew up around it. I was at All Seasons Arena running around from the age of 5, 6. With Brady Sampson, we just ran the rink. That's what we did, and then I got to put on my gear and go out and score on Brian Holland and skate with Donny Schatz and Hellstead and Quinn Filling and Grubb, just all those guys that went on to play hockey at high levels. I got to see and do all that stuff, and I don't think if I was around that I wouldn't have been nearly what I was in hockey.
Who's better, Donny Schatz, the race car driver, or the hockey player?
Whew. Back in high school, I tell you what, Ben, he was a pretty darn good hockey player. He had some silky smooth hands, and he was able to go. But you can't. What he's done in World of Outlaws, it's been amazing to watch. I mean, the years that he has just dominated that sport. I think I got to probably go with the race car driver.
Yeah, I guess like the sweet hands translate from hockey to like driving a car, or what?
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, I think there's something, and I'm sure, if you talk to Donnie, they'd probably be the same thing. There's something to be said about just playing sports. You play sports, you're able to, I just feel like I'm able to maneuver the world better because I play sports. I'm more aware of things that are going on around me. I'm able to, go out and play in the backyard with my kid. I'm able, like, it just, I feel like because of sports and being active, I'm able to do that stuff more.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about being an assistant coach in that role, obviously Minot High, the coaching dynamic is already co-head coach with Grubb and Bennett, and then you guys assisting. Tell me a little bit about how far of an influence you have on this team, how loud your voice sometimes carries, whether it's in a practice or in a game, and just how you kind of fit in the overall decision-making of the team, and what could maybe be good and bad about that.
I mean, Grubb and Bennett, they're two of the best guys. We're all really good friends. I love coaching with them. I know that they're probably not going to coach forever, but I would coach with them forever. They let me have a really big voice in things that go on with this team. I think hopefully someday they see me in the role that they're in now. That's to be seen down the road. It's something that I aspire to be as a head coach of Minot High hockey. Like I said, I don't want it to be anytime soon unless they're ready to go. But if they're not, I hope they stay because I love coaching with them. I think, my role is a little bit different than their role, besides the fact that they're head coaches. But your head coaches, to me, in any sport kind of got to, be the iron fist that comes down. They got to be harder on kids. They have to have, more structure, more rules, where your assistant coach is kind of your guy that's there to kind of pick the kids up. And don't get me wrong, it's not that they don't do that either, but I just think as the head coach, they have more responsibility, with how the team goes than the assistant coach, where the assistant coach needs to be there when, so-and-so isn't doing well. I got to come, hey, let's go, man. We know what you can do. We know you can be better. I just think that's kind of the role that the assistant coach has to play. And, sometimes I think head coaches get a bad rap. Oh, so-and-so's hard on me. It's like, well, yeah, they're your head coach, buddy. They got to be hard on you. Well, you're not as hard. Well, I can't be as hard on you because you already have two guys that are being hard on you. So if the third guy on the bench is being hard on you, that's everybody being hard on you. That doesn't work. I had Dean Blaze as a head coach. Dean Blaze was hard on guys. Then we had Mike Hastings and Mike Gensel were assistant coaches. They weren't hard on guys. They would joke around with you. They would have a good time. Now, it wasn't that Blaze wouldn't do that stuff, but they understood that, with him coming down on us and getting hard or being hard on us, they can't do that either. So I just think, sometimes nowadays, I think, parents, kids, whatever it is, I think they need to realize that, people or coaches aren't being hard on your kid because they don't like your kid. It's not because we want to belittle your kid. It's not. It's no, we want to win, and we know, or we hope the group of kids that we have with us want to win also. So we push them. We want to be hard on them. And to me, if the kids care and want to win and want to work extremely hard and want to be a part of something that's could be special, which Ben and Grubb got to be a part of with bringing a championship to Minot. You got to have that. So, like I said, I think I kind of answered that. I think me being able to have a voice and, for them to listen to me, I really respect that. And I hope and I feel that they respect me.
And has there ever been a moment where you act in a situation, like you said, like the assistant coach might have to be softer on the kid when the head coaches go hard a little bit, where you think in the back of your mind, like, boy, if head coach Willert was here, he'd be saying this instead? Or has there ever been a time where, say, the co-coaches had taken a softer approach where you thought, like, hey, how come they're not kicking them in the backside a little bit more to take that next step?
Well, and I'll even take it a little bit further. I mean, sometimes, Ben, I'm the guy that's hard on them, and then they come in. That we feed well off each other there. They understand that, like I said, I coach defense during games on the bench. That's who I'm working with. So if my defenseman comes off and I don't like what they do, I'm hard on him. Well, then Bennett's in the middle of the bench, and that kid might slide over there, and then Bennett will lean down and kind of have a more personal conversation with him. And I think that's important. Kind of the same thing happens, where Grubb or Bennett's getting on a forward, and they come kind of down by my end of the bench. I might lean down and be like, hey, bud, we know you can do it. We work really well off each other with that. I don't think it's, any one coach is harder or more harder on kids. I just think your head coach has to be the head coach. They have to be more of the disciplinary than your assistant coach has to be, and that's just how it rolls. And I would think if you talk to Ben and Grubb, I have a different relationship with the kids than they do. It's just how it is. I'm also younger. I also, teach at the high school. Bennett's at Central with me, but Grubb teaches at the elementary school. We're around most of these kids for 2 years, Bennett and I. Bennett has a lot of them in class. I see him at lunch. I go down and, talk to him almost daily. This year we had a couple kids that played on our team that went to Central, and I go down to the lunchroom and be like, hey, what's up, fellas? We just kind of talk, and I just think it's really important. I mean, even with teaching, even with anything in life, I think it's the number one thing that I've learned through everything that I've been through is relationships matter. I mean, getting to know somebody and knowing what makes them tick, having them understand that I care about them as people, they're going to work harder for me. They're going to do more things for me. And I think as a coaching staff, we do that really, really well. I think our kids understand that we want them whether we, want them to grow up and, run Fortune 5, what is it, Fortune 400, Fortune 500?
500, yeah.
Fortune 500 companies, or they going to play in the NHL or play Division I hockey or just go play juniors for a couple of years. Like, they need to know that, like, that's our goal. Like, I want to move kids on, but I also want them to grow up and be, good adults. And, if they get married someday, take care of their wife, be good fathers, whatever it is. But I think that all starts with relationships, getting to know that kid being able to trust me, they're going to work harder for me.
Your dad coached you. Jason Bennett recently coached his son, Easton. What's the dynamic need to be like when the coach is a parent versus the parent is just a fan and, like, the coach has got to do their thing with their kids?
Well, I'm sure if you sat my dad and Bennett down, and I'm not trying to put words in their mouth, but, I mean, at times I think it can be pretty tough. I mean, there's a lot of, outside noise they deal with. Being around Benny when he did it with Easton, I thought they were great. I mean, Easton was obviously one of the best players to ever play at Minot High. I mean, his points show that he worked extremely hard. Sometimes he played on the edge, and there were times that, Benny would be upset with him. But Benny would be upset with any kid if they were put in that situation. It's the same thing with my dad. Was my dad upset with me at times? 100%. Did my dad come down on me at times? 100%. But at the end of the day, he's still my dad. He still had my back, just like Jason had Easton's back. And you go to battle for your kids. I think, obviously the success that I had, the success that Easton had, make it a little bit easier for him because it's, like I said, were there times growing up that I heard, oh, you play because your dad's a coach? It's like, well, yeah, my dad's a coach, but my dad's not going out and putting up the points and doing this and doing that. Like, I'm working. I put in the work, the same thing Easton did. So, it's tough when people say stuff like that, but you just kind of go out and work and try to silence the haters yourself. And, I think, like I said, Easton did that with his point total, did that with winning a state title. His senior year won another first-round game at state. He was part of some really good teams. And, again, I think, with my career, I was able to kind of do that stuff also.
Mm-hmm. All the time there's kind of, like, noise outside of a program. Like, people are big fans sometimes, like, too much getting into, like, trying to influence how the coaches could maybe influence. In your opinion, I mean, has that taken any toll on North Dakota high school hockey alone?
Well, I don't know if it's just high school hockey, Ben. I think overall sports, I think people, whether it's parents, guardians, whoever it is, I just think they're all so super involved in so many things. There's so many parents, and I'm a parent now, and I hope that I don't, get to that. I hope that my kid can just play and have fun. And, if he has success, he has success. And I'm sure it's hard at times because you want the best for your kid, right? Like, I understand that. But I just think so many times nowadays parents just get so caught up in, oh, my kid's, the next Sidney Crosby, the next, LeBron, the next Patrick Mahomes, whatever it is. It's like, just, they're in high school. They're younger. They're in the youth program. Just let them go play. Like, that was the one thing that I'll praise my dad till the end of time. My dad just let me go play. My dad, did we talk hockey? Did we talk baseball when I played baseball? Did we talk football? Yeah, we did. But he didn't harp on me. He didn't, you need to be the best or whatever. Like, basically, it's like, if you want what you want, because he knew I wanted to play college hockey, like, you just got to work for it. And that's what I did. I did it myself, and with a lot of help from other people, but I just think, it's such a touchy subject nowadays, with parents. I think people just need to just relax and just let their kids be kids. Like, to me personally, it doesn't matter if you play high school hockey, football, whatever in North Dakota. If you're good enough, they're going to find you. If you're Carson Wentz and go to NDSU and don't go to, Kansas State or Oklahoma or Alabama or whatever it is, they're going to find you if you're good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at the pedigree of players that have come out of Minot High that have at least played 1 year of high school hockey. Mason Morelli, Colby Enns.
How much does that point kind of lend itself to the debate of high school hockey versus junior stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it does. And don't get me wrong, Ben. I left.
Mm-hmm.
I left after my junior year of high school. Like, I'm a proponent for leaving. I think it needs to be, you know, the right situation. If you're drafted in a certain spot or a certain team wants you to go play, if it's something you want to do, then go do it. Like, I have no ill will. None of the other, you know, people that I work with in my program have ill will towards anybody. Like, you got to do what's best for you. Do I want kids to stay and play for Minot High School? Like, 100%. Like, you'd be nuts if you didn't say that. Do I want the best hockey players that are in Minot to play at Minot High? Like, yeah, of course I do. Do I want every kid that plays hockey that has aspirations of moving on from Minot to go play somewhere after? 150%. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. I want kids to have the experiences that I got, that Bennett got, that Grubb got. You know, we coach some kids in high school hockey that have moved on and played college football. Like, do I want kids to go? Like, yes, we all want that. At the end of the day, I would like them to come play at Minot High for a year or two and then see what's out there. But I understand the culture's changed. The landscape is changing. I just wish kids would see there is value in coming to play high school hockey.
You even see that with the pros. I mean, Nick Saban gets a 5-star, but when, like, Tua Tagovailoa has eligibility left, he's going to tell him that, hey, kid, you need to go. John Calipari, coaching Kentucky, all he does is one and dones, and he knows they're going to go and not stick around for it. So, I mean, you see it a lot.
Yeah.
Just be real, you know?
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of the sport landscape right now, right, Ben? Like, guys are getting younger and younger. You know, I played in the USHL. When I played in the USHL, it was a 17 and 18-year-old league. Now it's a 15 and 16-year-old league. The kids are just younger. It's how things have gone. I mean, you know, like you said, you know, especially like with this transfer portal now for football, like, I signed with, you know, Ohio State, and then I go there and, you know, I get beat out with this guy. Well, I'm going to transfer to LSU and I'm going to win a national championship because I'm that good. You know, like, yeah, I mean, good for him, but I just, there's got to be some loyalty at some point in time, right? Like, I understand you got to look out for yourself, but, like, I don't know, maybe just work harder and try to get the spot back. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I've never gone through it. I'm not going through it. Maybe someday, you know, I guess maybe someday hopefully I'm lucky enough to go through it with my little one. You know, it is what it is. I wish there was more kids wanting to stay here and play for at least a year.
The climate could be, like, way different by the time your 3-year-old is up.
100%. Who even knows if we'll even have sports then? Everything will be, they'll play it, they'll, like, get dressed at home and electronic hockey gear and play on TV.
VR champions of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Esports taking over and all that stuff. Let's look a little bit about the season that you guys just got done with in 2019 and 2020, okay? What's kind of the feeling around the guys looking back? I mean, the team was awesome in the regular season. Looks like a lot of good foundation is laid right now. Couldn't finish with a WDA title or, like, any kind of, like, wins at the state. I mean, the East looks freaking loaded again. But just as your overall thoughts on the 2019-2020 campaign.
Well, you know, we had a small group of seniors. We had 4 of them: Josh Drady, Nick Murphy, Jack Plemmel, and Peyton Fillion. They did an exceptional job. You know, a couple of them were captains. They all led by example. They worked extremely hard. They're great kids. They were a joy to be around every day at the rink. You know, they've now graduated. You know, I look forward to, you know, them being part of the alumni now and, you know, moving forward and, you know, being around them as they get older. And they're good kids. They worked hard. You know, the one bright thing for coming back next year is we have a lot of juniors. Just like the year before, we had a lot of sophomores. So they've now had 2 years of getting, you know, coached by me, Bennett, and Grubb, and, you know, and Woodbeck, and, you know, mixed in there with Morgan Martell and Jersey Kelly and Donovan Galt this year. So, you know, they've gotten to know what we expect and what we want from them. And, I think next year the expectations are extremely high. Like you said, we had a really good regular season this year. We're able to win the WDA regular season title, which hadn't been done for a while out of Minot. But that WDA tourney champs, I believe it's been since like 06, since Minot has won it, which was my senior year of high school. That's something that I think is a goal that we need to set as a team, and that's something we need to work towards. We got goaltending back, we got defense back, we got goal scoring back. A kid like Jaden Luck had a really good year for us. A Derwin Hauser brings a little bit of Derwin Hauser and Isaiah Thongfet bring a little bit of grit for us. On the back end, Ben Bonebrake, Riley Oprud, Jake Tice, Gabe Thongfet. That group there is kind of going to be a catalyst for us moving forward. And then there's kids coming up next year from Bantams, whether it be the Bantam AA or the Bantam B1 or Bantam B, that we're going to have a tryout. Hopefully we have a tryout in November. And there's going to be some spots there for the taking. And then, you obviously mix in the kids we had in the program this year from the JV. You hope that they, that's the natural progression, right? Some kids come in and they have to play a year at JV, and then hopefully they have a big summer and they're able to progress into roles next year for us. And, I just, you throw in, Aiden Morelli, like there's some big name guys and big game players that are coming back for us, and hopefully things can just gel and we can just keep moving, in the right direction.
What needs to be the strongest positional unit on a team to challenge for a state championship, besides the cliche of having a super hot goalie at just the right time?
I don't know if it's so much like, whether it's a forward unit or defense unit.
Or just gelling, man. I mean,
what's that?
Or just like gelling, dude, I mean, what's the most important?
Well, I think it needs to be the D zone. Whether it's the forwards getting pucks out on the walls, center supporting low so that, the defense have somebody to move the puck to, D turning and hustling back to pucks and zipping a first touch pass, to a wing or to a center to be able to get the puck out. Because here's the thing, Ben, at the end of the day, really hard for the other team to score when the puck's not in your defensive zone. When you're down in their zone playing offense, not only are you not getting scored on, but you're also getting chances to score. And at the end of the day, you have more chances to score. There's a good chance that you're going to come out on top of things. So, I think, like I said, it's just kind of one unit, but I think that D zone becomes more important as you move on into, playoff hockey.
You just have a way of explaining things so simply. Just keep it out of the defensive zone and everything's going to be okay. Now, short of all their players being drafted into the CHL, how do you guys cut into the East? Because they were on a roll this year.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it earlier about, kids staying. Like, there's such a tradition, right, of kids wanting to stay and play for Grand Forks Central, wanting to stay and play for Red River, Grand Forks Central, Fargo South, whatever it is. But here's the thing. I know coming into this season, they've had some kids that have moved on to go play in AAA programs also. So I think, kind of the whole state's getting hit by it. A lot of times you hear, well, they're in the East. They play, you look at like a Grand Forks Central, they play East Grand Forks, War Road. They just, their schedules. We have such a good schedule this year. I'm excited for you to see it when it comes out. It's one of the best schedules in Minot High history, and just look really forward to it. Our kids work so hard. I don't know if I can pinpoint one thing what makes these better. I mean, you got to realize those kids in Grand Forks, they grow up around, UND, getting to see it's just, there's a tradition there that kids want to be good hockey players. And it's not that they don't want to be good hockey players in Minot, they do. I don't really know. I mean, obviously, Grand Forks, they have more people than we do. Fargo has more people than we do. I don't know if that has something to do with it. Are they doing more off-ice stuff? Our kids are doing a lot of skill stuff off-ice. Recently here, the Grand Forks and the Fargos have just had bigger kids than we've had. But I know that our kids that we have right now are working extremely hard. As soon as the COVID stuff had, opened up a little bit, they were getting back into the gyms, and they've been working extremely hard. And, like I said, hopefully next year that team, we can get over that hump of the winning a first-round game again and, getting into a semifinal. And once you do that, who knows what happens.
I talk to a lot of the players that are multi-sport athletes. Obviously, they play hockey, they play football, they play baseball. It's not a takeaway about their passion for any other sport. It's just this past year I was talking to guys like Peyton Fillion, Jack Plemmel, just to name a few, about, yes, I'm on the news, okay? The athletes can be tight-lipped. Coaches can do the same thing and give me a bunch of cliches, whatever. But when I was talking to the players about this hockey season, they were just so bullish, confident, and excited to get it going at the start because they knew what the team could be capable of. And just with that in mind, after you win the regular season WDA Championship, where was the team's head at in regards to just confidence going into it, the mentality of, hey, this is a tournament now. We had an awesome streak, but now every game is supposed to be the toughest game all the way in. The East was difficult for the state, and obviously it's tough to get through the WDA Championship. So what were kind of the coaches telling the guys, and what were the guys kind of feeling going into the tournament field?
Yeah, coming in as a 1 seed, into the WDA tournament, we pulled Botno. Botno's a scary 8 seed. You have arguably the state's best player on that team in Ian Amsbaugh, and you mix in a couple other kids that play really well for him, and they have a good goaltender. That kid has played really well, and he always plays really well against us. So here we are going to the third period against them at the first round of WDA, playing the noon game. Being the 1 seed, I almost hate playing that noon game because you play at noon. You don't ever play hockey at noon during the regular season. Very rarely do you play a noon game. There's weird bounces. I mean, luckily we were able to pull out, I think it was a 3-0 win. And, you move on to the next night, you play Bismarck High. We had beat them twice during the regular season. They hadn't had Joey Heiner in any of those games against us during the regular season, and he played. And I mean, that kid was a difference maker. They played a hard game. Ackerman stood tall in net for them, and we had our chances. We were right there. We actually, I think, ended up out shooting them and even out chancing them. But at the end of the day, they got the win. So we moved on to a playing game, and we all know it was against Mandan. We all know how that played out. Tied it up really late, and then won a couple minutes into overtime. And I don't know so much if the message changes a lot throughout the season. I mean, it does throughout the season, but it's still just hockey. Kids, you got to go out and work hard. You gotta, if you get a chance to get the puck out, like I was talking earlier, the puck's got to get out. This is playoff hockey. If you don't chip the puck out, kid keeps it in, it's a shot on net. It can end up in the back of the net. Things just change in the tournament. And that's the one thing, with high school hockey is it can be, boom, one and done. And it's just, then you're in a much tougher spot. Going into the state tournament, we're playing a Fargo South team that has a Drew Sandy, his brother, the other Sandy kid in net, who's arguably the best goalie in the state. It was a tough draw for us, and we were right there early with them. I know the score isn't vindictive, really, to me, to how the game went. They kind of blew us out late, but after the first period, it was 1-1. Could have been 2 on us. Jack Plemmel gets stopped right on the doorstep. Unreal save by the Sandy kid, and it could have been 2 on us. And then they just kind of, laid the foot to us and, put us away. And then the next day we were able to beat a really, really good Bismarck Century team for the 3rd time that season. Minot High hasn't beat Bismarck High 3 times in a season in years. It's been a long time. We were able to beat them in, a shootout. And then we played Jamestown the next night. They got really good young kids, and it's a 5th place game. And, they played extremely hard, and they ended up beating us. But, overall, it was a great season. We have a great group of kids. Love being around them. Love coming to the rink. Love working with them. They can take, some constructive criticism. And I love how they all have good senses of humor. They're able to kind of give it back to you, every now and then, which I think is important. Like I said, it's that relationship piece. Kids need to understand that, yeah, I'm going to be hard on you, but at the end of the day, I care about you. I can give you a hard time. You can give me a hard time. I mean, fell over in practice this year. Did they all razz me? Like, yeah. Like, you
100%. I wish I was there with the camera.
Yeah, that would have been a good time for you. I mean, to me, that's what makes a good team. Is it's got to be a cohesive group of, individuals that are coming together for one goal. And, I think we have that, and we have that moving forward.
Who was the MVP of Coach of the Year, Jordan Willert's team this year and for the Magicians?
Well, Nick Murphy actually won the MVP. That was voted on by teammates. It was well-deserved. Nick played really, really well, especially down the stretch for us. I mean, even if you talked to him, the beginning of his season probably wasn't what he wanted it to be. He ended up finding some chemistry with Jaden Luck. They tied for first on the team in points. For me, from my side of things, coaching defense, I think a kid like Riley Opperud had a really, really good season for us. The kid played an extreme amount of minutes. He blocks shots, he battles in the corner, he kills penalties. He basically does a lot of it for us. And I think that was really important. But, like I said, Nick earned that right. His teammates voted for him. Again, I also think a kid like Trey Sortland, our goalie, I mean, again, another little unsung hero. He played extremely well at times. If you go back and look at his stats, you look at games that we kind of got blown out in, obviously that's going to inflate goals against average. That's going to inflate save percentage. But if you look at against like the Bismarck Highs, the Bismarck Centuries, Mandan, Jamestown, the big WDA games that we played down the stretch, like his goals against and save percentage were really, really good against those teams. I guess that's kind of my answer to that. There's a couple different kids you could choose, but Nick Murphy earned that right this year, and I was super proud of him.
Going from one playing the field question pretty much to the other, what's your take on the 24-team NHL playoff plan?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. Here's the thing, right? It's COVID-19, okay? It stinks. Sports are gone. I have watched NASCAR because I want to watch live sports. The golf things were great. I'm just excited that they have a plan in place. It's going to be interesting, Ben. What happens if one player tests positive? What's going to happen? I've seen they're going to test players every night after their games before they go to bed so that they have test results. That's one of the things they're talking about. Do I want it to happen? 100%. Let's get it going. Let's roll it out. I think it's going to be sweet. I'm a Colorado Avalanche fan, so, let's get it going. Everybody's going to be healthy for them. Radnan's going to be back. McKinnon's going to be back. Makar will be 100%. Grubauer's back. We're ready to roll. Kadri will be back. We got into the top 4 seeds there, so they'll play that round robin to see who's the 1 seed. I'll take the Avalanche against anybody right now. But I think it's really intriguing out east when you got Pittsburgh Penguins are going to play. I think it's Montreal.
Yep.
That's an interesting series right there, right? They could Montreal could steal a game. I'm 100% on board with Carolina voting no. They were one of the 2 teams that voted no because they were really close to
qualifying round being best out of 5 for that early stage. And
and they have to play the Rangers. The Rangers have Artemi Panarin on their team. Come on. They have Panarin. Kreider will be back even though he broke his foot. Obviously, they got these goalies that are coming out of the woodworks in New York. It's just there's a lot of intriguing matchups coming up. The Flyers were extremely hot.
I feel fortunate to be a top 4 seed, considering to win the Stanley Cup out of the qualifying round, you have to win 5 series now.
Yeah,
that's insane.
100%. But I think it's cool how they're going to do that for the top 4 seeds, where they're going to have, the round robin for the 1 seeds. At least they're going to get 3 games. I think that's a key thing because, some of those series are only going to go 3 games, but at least those teams are going to get to play some sort of hockey. Now, what does that resemble? I don't know what that'll look like, but I say fire it up. I'm ready for the end. I'm not even a basketball guy. Let's get the NBA going. MLB, let's get it all going. I'll sit and watch anything right now because it's summertime and I want sports.
Not only to have 1 round short of having to go through, how much of a benefit is it for the top 4 considering I know that the 1 seed can be important, but at the same time, it's going to be at a neutral site. Home ice really won't matter all that much. Obviously, it won't exist. So how much importance is it for the round of robin to just be, I know they'll have a training camp, to be tuned up and have at least some competitive hockey without potentially being eliminated, because you could get swept in a best out of 5 in 3 games versus, having the round robin?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really important. Like I said, that's why I said I think it'll be interesting to see how those round robins are played, because here's the thing, you also don't want anybody to get hurt. So to me, I don't think you're going to go out, the players are going to know that. I don't think the players will go out in those games and go 120%, because getting the 1 seed, like you said, it's not going to really matter. The only thing would maybe matter would be matchups, but at the end of the day, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs, as we've seen with the LA Kings, years ago, they come in as the 8th seed. Doesn't matter. Like, as long as you get into the playoffs, you're into the playoffs. It's a 7-game series, and from there, anything can happen. So I think those top 4 teams, you'll see those games. I don't know if they'll be uber competitive. I don't think there'll be a bunch of body checking. There won't be a bunch of shot blocking. It'll be more just kind of, let's get our power plays going. Let's get our feet going, and just it'll almost be like preseason hockey, I think, a little bit for the top 4. Now, the 5 through 12 matchups, like, you're playing to get into the playoffs, and it's a big deal. I think those will be the thing you got to realize. Like, I'm a huge hockey guy, right? I'd watch Stanley Cup playoffs. There's nothing better to me than the first round of Stanley Cup playoffs, because there's like 4 games on every night. Mm-hmm. Well, now when we get the 5 through 12 matchups, there's going to be like 6 games on every night. It's going to be awesome.
It might go all day because they're in like the one hub city.
Yeah, well, that's what's going to be
March
sweet.
Madness.
It's going to be like, this is Doc Emmerich reporting from Las Vegas. We have the 5 versus 12, then we have the 6 versus 11, then we have, like, it's just like it'll be like the Minnesota or North Dakota State high school hockey tournament. Games just played back to back to back. It'll be sweet. And one other reason I'd like the NHL to get going before some of these other sports is, like, you look at what's gone on with, like, these golf matches. It's been the most watched golf in the history of golf on cable television. Like, get the hockey on there so we can get some ratings and they can get more TV revenue, and that more revenue for the league makes it a better fan experience because prices go down. And I just think it's a really important thing. And if they could do that before anything else gets going, they're going to get more buy-in from people around the country.
Man, it would be insane if North Dakota would have stayed on as a Hub City finalist, but we definitely knocked that out with Larry McFall in the show premiere. So I know you're going to say Colorado, but who do you expect to have the best chance at winning the Stanley Cup? And if you had to pick one team that's playing in the qualifying round to make that Cinderella run, who would you take?
Ooh. Well, it's tough. And obviously I'm a fan. I'm also a realist. I honestly think the Avalanche are, like, this is their year to have a big run. I really do, especially now with the COVID break. They got all their guys back from injury. I already named them. I think that's kind of again, they're my team, but I just don't. You look out west, just not really sure if anybody else can really match up with them. Now, you're going to have a healthy McDavid, a healthy Draisaitl. You're going to have, like, the Blackhawks got in. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying that can be a trendy series for a 5-12 matchup, because if Kane goes off for 3 or 4 games, that can make a huge difference.
Well, they still have Jonathan Taves. They still have Duncan Keith. They still have, they have guys that have done it. To me, Winnipeg is a team you just don't know. They have guns that can go. Hellebuck started playing really good hockey before the break. Blake Wheeler and Scheifele and there's some really good players there. I already mentioned the Rangers. I think the Rangers are a team that can come and surprise some people.
They're an 11 seed.
Same thing with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, even though they're a 5, I could see Montreal beating them just because. Matt Murray at times has been streaky this year. It just there's storylines almost with every single series, and I think that's the cool thing is anybody can beat anybody because it's the NHL, right? Like there's not superpower teams like you saw last year. Tampa Bay Lightning win the President's Cup running away, not even close, and then lose in the first round to Columbus.
Swept in the first round.
Yeah, swept. I remember, and what were they up the first game? Weren't they up like 4-0 or something like that? And all of a sudden Columbus came back and won 5-4 in overtime or something?
I love it for the Tampa Bay Lightning fans that will be tuning in, for sure.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like I said, I really do believe, Colorado has that team. Obviously, Vegas is there. I think their goaltending has struggled. Robert Leonard will be, he could be somebody that could be a dark horse where if Fleury struggles a little bit, Robert Leonard getting traded to, Vegas could come in and fill in. A team like Phoenix, they just don't give up a lot defensively. I mean, you go down the list, like I'm a big fantasy hockey guy. You don't play players against Phoenix Coyotes because their goalies don't give up goals and they don't give up shots. They just don't give up a lot. There's intriguing stories all the way across the board. I mean, Nashville snuck in. Nashville stunk at the beginning of the season, and then all of a sudden, Philip Forsberg and the Roman Josi, and they had probably Ryan Ellis. They got probably top deep four in the league or close to. All of a sudden, they just caught fire before COVID. So, and even like your Philadelphia Flyers, again, at the beginning of the season, they were almost, dead and out of it. And all of a sudden, they got really hot. Hazy settled in and started playing, really good hockey. And all of a sudden, as they're saying on Spit and Chicklets, Kata Hot got out there and started, like that kid's going to probably win a Stanley Cup at some point. He might win it in Philly for you. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of intriguing stuff coming down for these NHL playoffs, and I'm just excited. I hope they return to play. I hope they figure it out. But like I said, to me, it's kind of the dark horse, and the interesting part is what happens if one guy tests positive? What does that look like? Does the whole thing shut down, or do you quarantine him and test the rest? It'll be interesting.
I was going to let you roll in that answer until you finally mentioned the Flyers, and they were the very last team that you did bring up besides the 10 through 12 seeds. So finally getting some credit, and I'm just glad that the player that Hayes has been for the team, because there's a lot of question marks for both trading for his rights and then signing him. Obviously, it's worked out both for his production, what he brings to the team, and obviously being a stoolie, which is fantastic. So how much do you like the way that the Avs are set up right now? They're a team that looks like a lot of folks are picking them to be a potential next dynasty team in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. A lot of people I don't think understand, holy cripes, why did Colorado get rid of Tyson Barrie? I don't think a lot of people understand, Tyson Barrie is going to be making close to $10 million next year. Where the Avalanche need to sign Gabe Landeskog. Eventually they're going to have to, they have Nazem Kadri that's on 3.6 AAV a year. They have Nathan McKinnon is on the best contract in the NHL for rate of production in the AAV. You got Makar, he's in the second year of his 3-year entry level because by him signing last year, he burned one of his years. They drafted that Bo Byram this year. I couldn't believe he fell to the Avs at 3. I was super pumped about that. They also got that Alex Newhook that was playing at BC this year that won, I believe he won NCAA Rookie of the Year. Just tore it up for BC, got super hot. Kid's super fast, quick little forward. Again, I know I'm a fan, I'm a homer, whatever. Call me what you want. I've been around hockey a long time. I like to watch good hockey when it comes to pro sports. Do I want the Avalanche to win 100%? But I really think they're set up to be good here for, the next couple of years. I do think one place they may need to improve would be goaltending, but that Francois came in this year and played, some big games for them. Obviously, Grubauer's there. I don't know if Grubauer's a long-term type thing there, or even if, the other guy that I mentioned, if he's long-term. But the pieces they have, the young guys that they have, the veterans that they have. I mean, I love the Kadri-Barrie trade. I loved it because we needed another forward to mix in. But by doing that, you're able to keep, Landy and McKinnon together, and then Rantanen could play with Kadri, or Kadri can play with, you could split up the three-headed monster at the top, which to me last year in the playoffs hurt them because teams just started queuing on McKinnon. And McKinnon, I think there was one crazy stat last year. McKinnon led the NHL playoffs, and they lost out in the second round. He led for the entire playoffs with end-to-end rushes. I mean, that's an insane stat. That's a guy that, is having to do a lot by himself. Well, the supporting cast is finally there. You know, I think they're probably a piece or two away defensively. Might be Bo Byram. It might be signing, you know, a veteran, whatever it is. But I think you're going to see here in the next couple of years, it's going to be a place kind of like, you know, Ray Bourque moving over there to win his first cup. There's going to be some veterans, some big-time veterans that are gonna move there, and I think it's going to help the team. It's going to be exciting. You know, I've been to a few Avs games in my days. It's getting to the point. My kid's going to be old enough now to be cool. We can hopefully we can fly down there, and I have an aunt that lives there, so we can stay with her and we can catch some games. But it's an exciting time to be an Avalanche fan.
Do you think they make the Barrie trade if they had two less of those good defensemen?
Yes, I do, because they knew what they were going to need to sign him for. He had 1 year left on his contract. You were able to get Kadri. I don't think there was, you know, they could have kept him for this year, but I don't know what that would have done for him. They wouldn't have gotten Kadri, so they would have been a forward short, right? But, you know, then they also make the move in the offseason for Burakovsky. I loved the signing of Burakovsky. I thought it was great. He's a former 30-goal scorer that kind of got lost in the shuffle with all those, you know, with Oshie and Ovechkin and Backstrom. Like, there's really, you know, Tom Wilson obviously playing first line, you know, with Obi. I mean, like, there's a lot of good forwards on that team, and he kind of got lost in the shuffle. That's Washington I'm talking about. I thought that was a huge move, and as you saw this year, it was great. You know, at the trade deadline, they picked up that Valeri Nichushkin. I loved that trade again for the Avalanche. I thought it was another depth forward that was huge for them. You know,
what's not to like?
What's that?
What's not to like?
Yeah, there's well, COVID-19 right now is not what to like, because it could damper the whole season. I think they were poised to make a long run. Hopefully, with this getting back to playing, that they're able to go on a run. And like I said, it's an exciting time to be an Avalanche fan. They're starting to be on national cable a lot more, so I don't have to pay for Altitude Network to get it up here in North Dakota to watch their games, which is great. Because for the past 5-6 years, you could hardly even watch them because they'd never be on TV. So one of my best friends that I played high school hockey with, Andy Dittis, he's a diehard Avalanche fan too, so it's great. You know, we're able to get together. He has a son now too. You know, Foster and I have gone up there and watched a couple games, and, you know, it's just an exciting time to, you know, Brett Fiddler, who I won a national championship with at Minot State, is a big Avalanche fan. He's still in town. Like, we text each other quite often. Colby Enns is an Avalanche fan, so it's just, it's a cool time to be an Avalanche fan. And Foster doesn't have a choice. He's an Avalanche fan, so.
There you go. One more quick question on the future of pro hockey. Because this is getting delayed and pushed back, what are your expectations of the 2021 season? Is it something that maybe they should just start with the Winter Classic, like that 48-gamer in 2013? And how much of an off-season do hockey players really need? I usually hear they take a month off, usually, but then they just work out and get ripped way more than guys like us. So what's kind of your assessment about where it can start? And how much rest these guys really need to just not have any other damage down the road?
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of a tough question. I mean, obviously right now, a lot of them are probably doing off-season type workouts, or at least they have been here for the last maybe month. You know, maybe they did take 2-3 weeks off when COVID started. It didn't do much. Obviously, they weren't able to travel. Most of them were sitting at home, so they were probably, you know, doing hockey-type exercises anyways.
They weren't sitting there eating chips?
Yeah, no, that was me.
Yeah. Guys like us, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I like the idea of the Winter Classic. Basically, to me, what you would look at is it would be like a lockout season, right? It'd be like the year the Blackhawks, what they win, like their first 15 in a row after the lockout that year.
Yeah, 13. Yeah.
You know, that would basically kind of be what the next season would be, and then you'd roll into it. I mean, do hockey purists not like that? Yeah, I understand that, but
there's a disease.
Well, yeah. You know, like one of my buddies, like, it's what are they going to do for next year? It's like, well, I don't know, but play the playoffs now. They get over in what, August? If they started.
Yeah,
July,
probably.
August.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, so September, October, November, December. I don't know if they need 4 months off. who am I to say, right? Like, I'm not playing anymore. But, you know, maybe you could come. I think it'd be kind of cool to come back with the Winter Classic. You can also maybe start in December and maybe get like a 50-game schedule instead of a 43 or whatever, you know, they're looking at. I don't know. You know, they're talking about getting rid of the week vacation that they're all having each year. Now, or not the week vacation, they get 7 days off or whatever it is. You know, they get a whole week off in the middle of the season. They'll get rid of that. Obviously, it's whoever goes. You know, I'm an Avalanche fan. If they go deep in the playoffs, you know, next season it might be a wash for them, and that kind of stinks because they're kind of a team that's primed to be really good here for years to come. But they win a Stanley Cup this year. I'll take crap next year. You know, like
that's what happened with.
How many times have the Red Sox been good after they've won the World Series?
I mean, that's going to happen with probably the next 2 Stanley Cup championships because this season's weird, next season is weird. Oh, well, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, Jordan, I mean, looks like when we get back to hockey finally, hopefully the Magicians don't lose out on. I know that's like a season and a half down the road for us locally, and I think the Avs are going to be set up whether we cancel this season or they come back right away. So I think you're going to be fine, man. Just stay well.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Ben. It was fun talking shop with you, and you know, same thing to you. Just hope you stay well, and you know, hopefully they can figure out that quarterback controversy they got going on in Philadelphia there.
Team hurts. What are you going to do? All right, that's Jordan Willert. Thanks.
Thank you.